pit video for you guys today. We're headed back over to Steve's, that awesome shop pit, because we are actually putting a tow cable kit onto the Quadtrac today. This will probably be a first, rolling up to a post office in a quad. I gotta go mail a hat again, which is actually my last hat. So when I get more up, I'll let you guys know. A lot of you know that I bought this Quadtrac as the main hose to be pulling that tile plow with. With that tile plow, I actually purchased a cable to use to pull with, including a rope. But these Quadtracs sometimes had the factory option of having a tow cable underneath them all the time, which I really like that idea for safety reasons. Plus, you always have a tow cable on the Quadtrac. Unfortunately, this Quadtrac, that's a bump, didn't come with one of those. So for safety and easy use reasons, I decided to actually purchase one from Lakota, and we're gonna get her installed today. So this is the shop pit. As you can tell, it's not a Grand Canyon, the depths of Mordor, or anything like that. Fall in and break your neck, because it's a remote controlled shop pit. This is Steve. You've seen Steve in a multitude of my videos, Tile Man, and then also we've been here for the shop pits before. Steve's with EWT America, so if you guys are interested in this shop pit, which we'll be using today, you got to get a hold of Steve. Steve's the guy that can get it done in all of America, like the United States. He's the one you're going to actually contact, and all this description stuff is down in the description. Steve's already unboxed my kit, but this is a tow cable kit from Lakota. I was going to get the one from Case, but it was way back ordered, so they had no clue when it was actually going to show up. It looks like we're putting this onto the drawbar. That's the tow cable right there. It's actually kind of a universal kit, so if you have like a 600 quad that looks like a 600 style quad, or like a road track quad, it depends upon what actual like piece you use to hook up the cable. But for us, we're going to be using this right here. There's all the pieces. You guys will be seeing it go on. Let's get the quad over the pit. On top of installing the tow cable kit today, I'm actually going to be taking advantage of the shop pit, and we're going to be changing the oil on it. Those are not good for taking drain plugs off.
Oh yeah?
No, yeah, you get covered in oil. He goes, whomp, and then the thing comes out real quick. Both ways, too. Son of a gun. Whoop! Too far. Oh. Where's this plate mount to?
Okay.
So Steve, what's the size of this shop pit that we're standing in?
42 inches wide, 32 feet long, and it'll go down to give you about a 6 foot depth.
6 foot depth. And from what Steve's told me is that you can design these to fit basically any application, correct?
That's correct.
But it has to be a certain depth or width?
Right, the depth is a big thing because we have a 6 foot stroke and use an 8-inch frame, which 7 foot pit gives you a deep enough pit that you can get the maximum out of your hydraulic lift.
But width isn't really a factor?
Width is up to the customer.
And the length is up to the customer?
Length is up to the customer. We build and design it to fit the customer's need.
Because these pits are actually engineered, so they're not like a kit, I guess you could say. They're an actual engineered pit for a customer's preference, which is darn cool. And later on in this video, we'll walk through with Steve kind of all the technical cool spots about this pit and how it works, in case you're wondering things about like that too. So I don't know what the heck you have to do about that. So with this kit, it has a mounting plate right here that's actually going to mount to the back part of this frame. of the tractor. Then we come up forward, and I think somewhere about here there's a big U-bracket that we'll actually mount, so that keeps it in the center of the tractor, and then up here will be the hook. That's what I'm assuming. I haven't read the instructions yet, but I will. If that's it right there. No. Oh yeah, okay. There you guys go. That's what we were cleaning out there. That was just full of dirt, dust, bean dust, all that good stuff. That gives me a little more.
Right, and that gives you.
How many lugs do you do with this thing as a torque spec?
Yeah, exactly.
Piece one on. Man it out real fast. Once.
Yeah.
In each hole.
Yeah, I take the old.
Give it a wiggle. So before we actually install the cable, we're going to drop the oil out of this. That way there's not a cable in the way. I don't know if it would be, but this is just simpler. Oh, got my hand. I don't know. For the love of God, just snug your plugs. That's what I did last time. Nope, that's a bad deal. I just rounded that one. Yep, you're moving. That's know-how. We're just letting this drain a little bit more here. Going through everything that I got for this tractor. I got a full service kit for it. Pulled the air filter on it. Unfortunately, I don't know how many hours are on the air filter. Pulled off that tub. There's actually some corn leaves down in it. Got those vacuumed out just for safekeepings. I'm gonna put the air filter in here, and it is just for fun numbers here. This is a $220 air filter. Does that look like 220 bucks? We were doing a really good job of not spilling. Actually, we didn't spill any until we got out of there, and then it decided to run down the side of the pan and then miss our bucket to the floor. I wonder what size this thing is. We're going for some good functioning tension. Yeah, I probably could use some help. Then I'm just gonna keep making weird noises and probably faces. I feel like I could maybe get them all. We go like this. I'd say. Nope, I gotta drop some.
Let's drop one and see what you get.
Just one?
Yeah.
They're close. We got it. Got her. There it is. Okay. We're gonna put oil in this thing, then we're gonna clean up, and we'll give you an actual tour and breakdown of how this pit works. Okay, so like I stated earlier, these pits here are actually custom designed and engineered pits. And if you're anywhere in America, the man that you need to talk to is Steve. So Steve's gonna talk us through how these pits work and the advantages of these pits. And like I said earlier also, if you have any questions, all of his contact information is in the description. Give him a phone call or send him an email. He'd be happy to talk with you.
First of all, we want to understand that it's hydraulically operated. The hydraulic pump here is controlled by an electronic remote control here. You can control the pit from this. You have three options. You have to hold the power, and then while you're holding the power, you have to give it a command up or down. It's very simple. The easiest way to work with this is to carry it on your belt. You can use one hand to let it down, to bring it back up. So as we were working on the Quadtrac, we could adjust to exactly the height that we worked at. So if you go clear down, it gets you under the machine, then you can come up inside to fit you. Now the way this is actually operated is there is a hydraulic cylinder under the floor. The hydraulic cylinder operates cables that come up here and are supported in a bracket. So you think of it kind of like a scaffolding in a pit. It runs up and down on cables. That's why we have a 2,000-pound load limit, which isn't a huge issue because anything you generally want to take down with you will be within that 2,000 pounds. If you overdo the 2,000-pound load limit, there is a hydraulic valve that opens up and it relieves it down till you are below the 2,000-pound load limit. If you want to drive something across here that's over 2,000 pounds, build a bridge and put it on wheels. And then you can roll the bridge over the pit, set the pit down, the bridge is supported on both sides, and whatever you've designed the bridge to handle, then you can drive across the pit. So it's not, driving across the floor is not a huge issue for most people.
What about people that already have pits? Can they be retrofitted?
Generally we can retrofit a pit, but usually the big problem is that the pits aren't deep enough, because most generally they will build a pit so they can have to be reasonable what they're working on. Our frame will take about 6 inches out of the bottom of that pit, so you've lost 6 inches, which puts you too short. And one of the big things is there's a lot of tall mechanics out there, and a tall mechanic, even on some of the pits today that are just regular a hole in the floor, they're not deep enough for some pieces of equipment. So with this, it fits the mechanic and the equipment. So you can go down, I'm 6 foot tall, you can go down to where you've got a lot of room underneath a piece of machinery.
So tell us the specifics of this pit itself.
This pit is 42 inches wide, 32 feet long, and we have just short of a 6 foot stroke.
In this pit you have a lot of lights and stuff like that. Is that part of your design, or is this all kind of extra that a customer would have to think of, or could you assist with this?
Well, I have several plans that I can share with customers. One plan is a steel box that is set in the ground, and then you cement on the outside of it, a very expensive option. The other option, another set of plans I have, is a concrete block that comes up to about just short of the light pockets, and then it's poured concrete the rest of the way up, and then they will have a light pocket area in the side of the wall. So you'll want a light pocket along your wall, and also you want it so you can put electric outlets in it. Now I haven't put the air outlets in here, but that's coming in the future. So you can have air and lights in here, air and electric in here. What we provide is the floor we're standing on, these supports that hold the cable, the electronics, and the hydraulics. You provide the lights, the pit, the light pockets to your choice, and I'll help you with understanding the whole process of designing and building a pit.
So what's the electrical requirements for this pit?
The electrical requirement is 220 volt, and there's a 60 amp circuit breaker in the control panel. Okay, as part of the safety feature of this pit is we have a ladder on each end. The flap on the end automatically comes down the ladder and exposes the ladder automatically.
Which is this flap right here?
That's correct. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but you'll hear a fan, and that fan is a ventilation fan that is in the bottom of the pit that is sucking any fumes that get in the pit, taking it outside.
Okay, and then so I can see right here is where you bring in all the service for the pit, is that correct?
Right, what we have here is a 4-inch PVC line. It's big enough that I can bring my hydraulic lines in. If you want to have a pump to pump a sump out, you can put those in this same pipe. And if you want to bring air lines in, you can come in at this same pipe. I have conduits that I brought in here. One conduit comes in and feeds the pit, which is the control circuitry in the pit. The other lines come in for the lights and the plug-ins. Part of our installation is you will provide the wire to the box, but we will hook that wire up to operate the lights and the fan in the pit that is also on the same circuit as the lights. So anytime the lights are on, the fan is on.
Which Steve hasn't actually mentioned yet, but once the floor gets to floor level, these lights turn off. So these lights aren't on all the time. You can't be like me and forget to turn the lights off. It's an automatic deal. So we'll head down underneath it with the floor up so you guys can kind of see how the bottom of it works.
Now the actual workings of this is this hydraulic cylinder right here. This hydraulic cylinder has a 2-inch bore and a 6-foot stroke. On the end of this cylinder are the cables that support the platform. Now the first thing you're going to think is, what is going to happen if that's going to come down on you? The ladder we came down on, not only is the ladder to come here to service, it's also the safety that would stop the floor from going down.
Which there's a ladder on this end and that end.
Right, the little ladders that we're hanging here. Now, a part of that system, we have a cable tension device right here, a switch, that's part of the switching. We have a switch here in the center. This switch in the center is the upper and lower limit, and it turns the lights off and on. And then we have another cable tension switch. The cable tension switches, the purpose of this switch is if for some reason the platform gets stuck for some unknown reason, then this switch will trip and it stops everything. So it's another safety feature.
So for maintenance, is there any like yearly maintenance that you actually have to do with the pit?
Not really.
No.
It's nice to kind of check your cables, make sure you don't have any spots, but the cables in the design, the cables are aligned, so when they turn this corner, they go outside the frame, they turn vertically, and that's what they're supported on.
So I noticed you don't have a floor drain in this pit, but it is dry down here. this is kind of how you could clean up if you were to have a spill. You could just come down here with the wet vac. You don't need to have a sump or anything like that in your shop to have this pit.
Not really. You can, if you do get water in it, you can open these doors and take it clear down where you can clean it up. When I built this one, this was the first one I built. I was very early on understanding all the needs for a pit. And my recommendation now is to put a sump in the bottom of your pit on one end or the other. And if you have a problem with a big oil spill, then the oil spill ends up in the sump.
So you would just slope the pit to one side.
The floor would slope like a 0.5% slope or a 1% slope.
And then if you happen to have actually like water or something up here too, you could just come in here with a hose and actually hose out the bottom of your pit.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. This has been in operation since 2018, and I've cleaned it out once. And it's just dirt that gets through the crack along the side and comes in here, and you just clean it out. This hasn't been cleaned out in 6 months. So it's not too bad. We got more dirt in here today.
Yeah. I don't know who put any dirt down in the hole today. It was me. So I see at the end you have some expanded metal down here. What's the purpose of the expanded metal on the end?
When the fan runs, it has a place for air to come in.
Okay.
On the opposite end of the fan.
Of the opposite end of the fan.
So we'll be taking air in here, migrating across the floor and into the fan.
That's a good deal. But that's a tour of the pit. I want to say thanks to Steve for letting me come over here and use it and actually helping me install the tow cable and change the oil on the Quadtrac. Again, any questions about the pit, Steve would be happy to talk to you. It's darn cool. We'll see you next time.
Wonderful. See, you've got electrical outlets over here on the side. Yeah. And I don't have my air in here, but I'm going to bring the air in. And it's a real simple thing. It's got a hydraulic cylinder underneath here. It's got a hydraulic cylinder that runs these cables. That's all there is to it. So it's simple. See, here your cables come up and catch inside. So then when you keep this, you put it on your back like that.
Do you not know about this?
That's how I need to reach a little higher, so you just reach. Oh yeah!
Come here, bud. Bandit's not so sure of the floor disappearing on him.
There you go. What do you think, huh? I tell you what, I cleaned the belly pans out on my bulldozer with this, and that was the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Because I can take it.
What do you think of that, bud? You don't think about that floor disappearing, do you? Huh?